Tellwise Science. Science and stories together. Today's story is called Aliens Escape from Earth. Caesar looked at the clock. It was almost 4 in the morning. It was time. He poked his head out the door. The coast was clear. He tiptoed down the steps. All of a sudden, he crashed into someone. It was his sister Haley.
Hurry up, or we're going to miss it.
They ran outside and headed deep into the desert. Finally, they looked up and saw what they had been waiting for. Dozens of shooting stars. It was the biggest meteor shower in years. Whoa! What's that noise? Suddenly, they felt the earth start to shake beneath their feet.
Watch out!
They ducked to the ground just in time as something flew through the air right over their heads and disappeared into the desert.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! In the story, Haley and Caesar seen something flying through the... Let's do a science experiment. Right here, I have a big straw. And right here, I have my favorite root vegetable, a potato. We're gonna put 2 pieces of potato inside of the straw. And each end of the straw is a potato. What's in between the potato? Air, that's right. Now, is air a solid, a liquid, or a gas? Gas. Matter is anything that takes up space. Now, what happens if I move this piece of potato closer to that piece of potato? What happens to the space in between? Does it get bigger? Or does it get smaller? That's right, smaller. It's time to introduce a friend of mine. This is Robert Boyle. He said when a space gets smaller, the pressure gets bigger. You have to be careful though, because when there's too much pressure... Sorry, Bobby. I'm gonna use this stick to push this potato closer to this potato. And when the space gets smaller, the pressure will get bigger. And when there's too much pressure, what do you think will happen? It's time to make our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis. Oh. Will the potato fly through the air or explode into pieces? It's time to test out your hypothesis. Count down with me out loud from 3. All that pressure forced the potato into the air. I didn't even see where it went. Whoa. And that's what it looked like when Haley and Caesar saw something flying through the air.
And Caesar seen flying through the air.
That wasn't a shooting star. That looked like a spaceship. Let's try and find it.
Let's keep watching the meteor shower.
What would you do? Would you try and find the spaceship? Or keep watching the stars?
Haley and Caesar wandered through the desert until daylight trying to find the spaceship. Meanwhile, deep down in the laboratory, someone was watching. It was Dr. Cosmo, the evil space scientist.
Okay, everybody. Yes, you. It's time to do the Cosmo Shuffle. Now, pay attention and follow along. Okay, everyone. Now, great job. Have a seat.
Now, what are those kids doing? They are looking for the spaceship! I've got to stop them!
Dr. Cosmo ran out of his lab, jumped into his buggy, and sped off through the desert.
Okay, everyone. Yes, you. Do like I do. Grab the steering wheel in front of you. Just like Dr. Cosmo, we're racing across the desert. Now pay attention and follow along.
Turn right. Turn left. Turn left. Turn left. Turn left. Turn right. Don't turn.
And stop. Whew. Have a seat. Great job.
Just then, Dr. Cosmo spotted something moving in his headlights. It was Haley and Caesar.
Hold it right there.
He stepped on his gas and raced towards them. Haley and Caesar started to run, but he was gaining on them.
I've got you now.
Just as he was about to grab them, Haley and Caesar dove out of the way. Dr. Cosmo slammed on his brakes. He looked left, then he looked right, but there was nothing there, no meddling kids in sight.
Blast! It must have gone the other way.
When the coast was clear, Haley and Caesar peeked out from their hiding spot. I think we better get out of here. They turned and started running home, but all of a sudden, Caesar stepped in something.
Watch out! What is that?
I've never seen anything like it. Slowly, they reached out their hands to touch it. It was cold, wet, and slimy.
Gross!
Wait a minute! In the story, Haley and Caesar touched something that's cold, wet, and... Ugh. Let's do an experiment. Right here, I have something called calcium chloride. Let's mix it in a bowl of water. Right here, I have a liquid called sodium alginate. Sodium alginate is made from algae, a plant that lives in the ocean. When we mix sodium alginate into calcium chloride, we get a chemical reaction. A chemical reaction changes your materials into something new. In this case, the sodium alginate will, what do you think? It's time to make our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis. Whoa! Do you think the sodium alginate will turn into a solid or change color? It's time to test out your hypothesis. Okay, everybody, count down with me from 3, 2, 1. Oh my goodness. Achoo! Oh my goodness. Oh my. And that's what it looked like when they reached out and touched the cold, wet, slimy goo.
Where could the cold, wet, and slimy goo have come from? Look, there's more over there. Caesar was right. There was a whole trail of goo leading through the desert.
Let's head home before that scary guy comes back.
I think we should follow the goo. Haley and Caesar followed the cold, wet, slimy trail of goo to see where it would go. Where do we go now?
I don't know. The trail just stopped.
They looked left, They looked right, but there was nothing there, not a drop of goo in sight. Wait a minute.
Where are you going?
Follow me. They peeked around the other side of the boulder, and they couldn't believe their eyes. They were standing there right in front of a spaceship.
Let's go inside.
Haley and Caesar went up to the spaceship and peeked in. No one was on board. They stepped inside.
Look at all these buttons.
What do you think they do? Haley and Caesar were having so much fun, they didn't realize they were being watched. Haley, please tell me that's your hand on my shoulder.
Nope.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! In the story, Haley and Caesar first see the aliens diisocyanate and polyol. When we mix them together, we get a chemical reaction. A chemical reaction changes your materials into something new. In this case, we're going to create polyurethane foam. We're going to mix our chemicals in this glove. Let's start off with the first chemical. Now, what color is the alien in our story? Blue, that's right. Let's put some food coloring in. And now for our second chemical. I'm going to mix them together, and what do you think's going to happen? It's time to make our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis. Whoa! What's going to happen to the foam? Will it fill up the glove until it overflows? Or will it stretch out the glove until it snaps? It's time to test out our hypothesis. The chemical reaction has begun. It's also expanding. It's getting warm. That's because it's an exothermic reaction. That means it produces heat. Let's keep mixing. Look at that. It's filled the entire glove. That means we have a foam hand. It's getting bigger. It's still spilling out. And that's what it looked like when the alien put his hand on Caesar. High five.
But there was nowhere to go. The alien was blocking the door. It started to move towards them. We'll have to fight it.
What if we try and be friends with it?
What would you do? Would you fight it or try to be friends?
Haley reached out her hand. Just then, the alien turned its attention towards Caesar. Haley, it's staring at me.
Well, you did say you wanted to fight it.
The alien was friendly. In fact, it loved shaking hands. All of a sudden, without warning, it was Dr. Cosmo, the evil space scientist.
Over that alien hand. I mean, hand over that alien.
Never!
The alien is mine. I need it for my collection. Now get out of my way.
But just before he grabbed them, Dr. Cosmo heard a strange noise. Suddenly, the alien looked right at Dr. Cosmo, opened his mouth wide, and blasted Dr. Cosmo with slimy blue alien goo.
Gross! I've been slimed. That's disgusting.
Now's our chance. Run!
We can't leave the alien.
Haley and Caesar grabbed the alien's hand and ran out of the spaceship. But right then, a huge sandstorm was passing through the desert.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! In the story, a sandstorm blows through and they were picked up by the... Wind is moving air. Now is air a solid, a liquid, or a gas? A gas. If we can't see air, how do we know it's really there? We can feel it. We can observe the effects that it has on other objects. Right here, I have a leaf blower. A leaf blower pulls air through the bottom and sends it out the side at 140 miles an hour. That's really, really fast. Even faster than a cheetah. And that fast-moving air has lots of energy. When fast-moving air comes into contact with another object, it transfers some of its energy to that object. You want to see what it looks like? Wow! The fast-moving air had so much energy that it transferred some of that energy to my clothes and my hair. That's why my clothes and hair started moving. What if we try using the leaf blower on another object? Right here, I have toilet paper. The fast-moving air will come into contact with the toilet paper, and, well, what do you think will happen? It's time to make our educated guess, also called a hypothesis. Do you think the toilet paper will fly through the air or be torn to pieces? Let's test out our hypothesis. That's what it looked like when the wind picked up Haley and Caesar.
The wind whipped all around them. Haley and Caesar could barely move.
The wind, it's too strong.
Just try to hold on. At last, the sandstorm was over and the wind died down. Haley, where are you?
Right here. But where's the alien?
They looked left. They looked right. But there was nothing there, no alien in sight. Just then, they heard a noise.
Nobody messes with Dr. Cosmo. You'll never catch me!
Haley and Caesar watched helplessly as Dr. Cosmo disappeared out of sight. Let's face it, they're gone. All of a sudden, Haley saw something on the ground.
Look, tire tracks. That'll lead us straight to the alien.
Let's go! Desert until at last they made it to the entrance of Dr. Cosmo's
Secret underground laboratory. This must be the place.
Let's get the alien and get out. We don't want Dr. Cosmo to catch us. With whatever courage they had left, Haley and Caesar made their way down, down, down into the underground lab. It's the alien! They untied the alien fast as they could. The alien sure was happy to see Haley and Caesar. Now let's get out of here. Haley and Caesar ran towards the exit, but when they looked back, the alien wasn't with them. Something was wrong. What's it doing?
I think it wants us to go the other way.
Dr. Cosmo, he's coming. We gotta get out of here.
What would you do? Would you leave the lab or follow the alien?
Haley and Caesar followed the alien through the lab to another room. When they opened the door, they couldn't believe their eyes. A whole family of aliens.
So that's why you didn't want to leave.
Shh, listen.
It's time to begin testing. Now, what room did I put those aliens in?
Cosmo's coming. As fast as they could, they untied all 6 aliens. It was Dr. Cosmo, the evil space scientist.
Intruders! How on earth did you lab my find? I mean, how on earth did you find my lab?
Run!
Get back over here!
Quick, hide!
Aha!
All 7 aliens turned around, opened their mouths wide, and
Oh no, not again!
blasted Dr. Cosmo with slimy blue alien goo.
Oh, yuck! I hate this stuff.
Cosmo slipped and fell in a puddle of the goo. He tried to get up, but it was way too slippery. He was stuck, for now. At last, they reached the exit and made their way out of the secret underground lab. Woo! What do we do now? Where do we go?
They want to go home. We have to get them to the spaceship.
It's a long way. We better start running.
Wait, I have a better idea.
Way are you? You haven't seen the last of Dr. Cosmo.
Before long, they made it to the spaceship. The family of aliens climbed aboard. I'm gonna miss our new friends.
Me too.
With a mighty blast, the spaceship shot up into the sky like a rocket.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! In the story, the alien spaceship took off like a... Right here, I have a chemical called baking soda. And right here, I have another chemical called vinegar. We're going to mix them together. But first, everyone do exactly as I do. Do it again. We breathe out a gas. That gas is called CO2 or carbon dioxide. We're going to add baking soda and put the lid on top. But first, what takes up more space? A solid, a liquid, or a gas? Right, a gas. The carbon dioxide will expand and take up much of space as it can. It will push against the walls of the film canister. That force is called pressure. When there's too much pressure, there'll be an explosion. It will take about, what do you think? Let's make our scientific guess, also called a hypothesis. Do you think it'll take more than 10 seconds or less than 10 seconds? Let's test out our hypothesis. All right, here we go. 10. Whoa! Oh my goodness! We only got to like 9. That's what it looked like when the spaceship took off like a rocket.
After watching the spaceship launch like a rocket and fly into outer space, Haley and Caesar made their way home. They were covered in dirt, sand, and slimy blue alien goo. They threw their dirty clothes into the washing machine. How much laundry soap do we need?
What would you do? Would you put in 2 scoops or the whole thing?
We better use the whole thing. Haley and Caesar dumped in all the laundry soap and headed upstairs to bed, where they quickly fell asleep. But before long, they were woken up by a strange noise.
Did you hear that?
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Dr. Cosmo!
Quietly, they tiptoed. They looked left. They looked right. But there was nothing there, not a thing in sight.
It's coming from inside the house. The washing machine!
The washing machine started to grumble. Then it started to shake. They ran over and pushed against the lid with all their might. But it was no use. She's gonna blow! The lid flew open, soap and water exploded into the air. It filled the entire laundry room with bubbles. Whoa!
Wait a minute! In this story, Haley and Caesar use too much laundry detergent and they make lots and lots of bubbles. That's right. Let's do a science experiment. In order to make bubbles, you need a chemical called soap. Let's pour some into the cylinder. Right here, I have a liquid that looks like H2O, but it's not H2O. It's hydrogen peroxide, which is H2O2. In order to do that, we need something called a catalyst. No, I said a catalyst. A catalyst is something that speeds up a chemical reaction. Our catalyst is something called sodium iodide. The catalyst will release the extra oxygen. The extra oxygen will fill up with soap. And well, what do you think's gonna happen? It's time to make our scientific guess, also called, I'm not gonna say that word. You guys thought I was gonna say hypothesis. Now, do you think that the bubbles will form slowly, one at a time, or fast, all together? Do you think the bubbles will form slowly, one at a time, or quickly, all at once? Okay, everybody, let's count from 3. And that's what it looked like in the story when the washing machine exploded.
It took Haley and Caesar a whole hour to clean up all those bubbles. From then on, every time they looked up at the night sky and saw a shooting star, Haley and Caesar remembered their adventure helping aliens escape from Earth.